A high of 74 by the lake and 80 inland. On Friday, partly cloudy, very warm and humid, a high of 87. Saturday, still hot and humid, partly cloudy with a chance for storms later, a high of 91. Right now in Madison, it's 89 degrees. In Green Bay, it's 87. In Waukesha, it's 89. And in Milwaukee, it's 90 degrees. I'm Jessica Gatso, Sighting Unlimited. WTMJ News Time is 6:07.
Your need-to-know cultural snapshot of Wisconsin and beyond. This is What's on Tap with Sandy Max. A deep dive into all things intriguing, riveting, and entertaining. Now, here's your host, Sandy Max.
Good evening. How are you? I am excited because put your party hats on. We are going to celebrate Paul McCartney's birthday today. I have the right person to put a party hat on at 6:30. Dr. Diana Belskamper, a cultural historian and Beatles expert, is going to join me in the studio, not just to talk about the influence that Paul McCartney has had, but also his Wisconsin connections. So get ready to celebrate at 6:30. And at 7, the Summerfest Soundcheck. It's an hour-long special that brings you backstage for insights and stories behind the scenes from a couple of men who helped make the big gig happen. So that will be at 7 o'clock. But first, Grill Meisters, get your barbecues ready. Do you know the name Stephen Raiklin? I'll bet you do. You see him on TV. He is the founder of Barbecue University. June 25th, he is in Milwaukee for a very special beer can chicken dinner at the Bridgewater Grill in Milwaukee's Harbor District. And I'm thrilled on the Tri-County Contracting Hotline to welcome Stephen Raiklin. And I feel like Grillmaster isn't appropriate of a title. What is the proper way to address someone of your accomplishment?
Let's see. Writer is on my passport. Writer and TV host, I guess, is what I usually say. But, barbecuing and grilling are my specialty, and I've written many books on that subject. So however you want to introduce me.
Well, because when you write a book called The Barbecue Bible, to me, that's more than writer and author. Like, that's authoritarian. And I love that in all of your speakings and teachings of helping people grill their best, you even spoken at Harvard. You really know your stuff.
I gave a lecture on the history of barbecue at Harvard. In fact, I'm going to be giving a version of that lecture when I come to Milwaukee next week.
Stephen Raiklin is going to be hosting a very special dinner Tuesday, June 25th at the Bridgewater Modern Grill, right on the waterfront, and hors d'oeuvres, a plated main course, even dessert menu items, all inspired by recipes from your book, Beer Can Chicken. Explain Beer Can Chicken. It's a great title.
Well, thank you. Beer can chicken is actually a very unique dish to come out of American barbecue. I can't imagine it having been invented anywhere else. In a nutshell, you roast a whole chicken up in an upright position over an open can of beer. Now, there's some physics at play that make this the moistest, most succulent chicken you will ever taste.
Stephen, there's a physics in play just balancing the chicken on the can, right?
That is true, but the whole secret lies in pulling the legs forward so you create a tripod, and that gives you a stable base on which to cook the chicken. So anyway, I discovered beer can chicken about 20 years ago at the Memphis in May International Barbecue Festival. I wrote about it for the New York Times. I demonstrated it on Good Morning America, and lo and behold, my publisher asked me to write a beer can chicken cookbook, which I did. Became a bestseller. That was 20 years ago. And my publisher thought, it's time for a new generation to experience this singular, uniquely American barbecue dish. Hence the republication of Beer Can Chicken, fully updated, now with beautiful color photographs.
How fun, and congratulations on having a book that has this kind of legacy that needs to be updated 20 years later for more people to enjoy it. And not only is it physics, but I feel like grilling, anytime you're cooking with fire and big flame, it's cooking with showmanship. And this adds another level of kind of performance art to the grilling.
It is so important what you just mentioned, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because there's been a lot of polemics about, do you really taste the beer in the chicken, and does the can really keep the bird moist? And I think all these people who are nitpicking like this miss the point, which is the whimsy, the sheer joy, the sheer delight, the sheer shock value of seeing a chicken roasting on a beer can. I mean, because like you say, cooking is a performance art, and nothing is more theatrical than a beer can chicken.
And it brings people together. Steve Raichlen, genius of grilling and 5-time James Beard award-winning author. He will host a special dinner June 25th at the Bridgewater Modern Grill in Milwaukee's Harbor District on 1st Street. Stephen, I want to know your thoughts on Wisconsin barbecuing. Stay with us on What's on Tap on WTMJ.
Sleep apnea is a serious condition. And the worst part about it is, because it affects you while you're sleeping, you don't know what this condition is doing to you.
And it was scary because I found out that I was waking up 145 times an hour. 145 times. I was scared. I wasn't getting the sleep I needed.
And that's the thing. Someone like John wakes up after thinking he's slept all night, and he's been feeling run down for years, and finally finds out something really is wrong. This is why, for us, solving sleep apnea problems is so gratifying, because we really are changing lives.
I've had more energy. I'm getting better sleep. I've been told from my wife I don't snore, but honestly, it changed my life.
This is Dr. Mothan Kandula. Solving your breathing triangle problems means a better quality of life, and you deserve that.
Go to AdventKnows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
At Blaine's Farm and Fleet, we get you the farm supplies you need because we get you, which is why we have unbeatable prices on quality livestock supplies from AgriMaster, a premium brand that's masterfully crafted, animal approved. Like $50 off a galvanized AgriMaster stock tank with small livestock drinker. Guardian Swift Pick pine shavings, $6.99, $6.49 for rewards members, and save $150 on the Hobart 210 MVP MIG welder. We get you the farm supplies you need because we get you at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
You're listening to What's on Tap with Sandy Max on WTMJ.
He is a grill master, author of 32 books, including the updated Beer Can Chicken Recipe book. He is Stephen Raichlen, continuing our chat on What's on Tap on the Tri-County Contracting Hotline. And Stephen, as American as Beer Can Chicken is, you got creative and cosmopolitan with the recipes in your updated Beer Can Chicken cookbook.
Well, that's the fun thing about this book. So what I did is I used the concept of beer can chicken to channel great poultry dishes around the world. In the first chapter, there's my version of Indian tandoori, which is cooked on a can of Kingfisher beer from India. The bird is flavored with tandoori spices. In a tandoor, chicken would be roasted in an upright position, right, because it goes on these vertical skewers. So that makes perfect sense. And then I thought, well, what about if you don't drink beer? Well, how about a cola chicken or a cranberry juice bird, or how about duckling à l'orange cooked on a can of orange soda? And that brought me to other birds you can do on a can. For example, quail on those little pineapple juice cans, or a turkey on an oversized Foster's Ale oiler can, which is big enough to accommodate a small turkey. This book, it's Raichlen on whimsy is what this book is about. So there's a chicken under a brick, there's a chicken under a stone, there's a welder's chicken, a spatchcock chicken, side dishes, of course, and even grilled desserts.
How fun. And we're going to get to sample those next Tuesday, June 25th, the Bridgewater Modern Grill in downtown Milwaukee. You're going to be the host with the most that night, Stephen Raichlen.
I suppose so. I love Milwaukee. I've been there many times on various book tours, and it's a great city. I love your waterfront. I love your restaurants. It's got a great vibe.
I'm so glad. And you talk about, Raichlen on whimsy is what beer can chicken grilling is. Let's roll it back just a little to the basics. Sure. First of all, what kind of barbecue do you associate with Wisconsin?
Well, I think of brats, first of all. I do something a little bit iconoclastic with brats, but I think it's worth mentioning because it's my personal favorite way to cook brats. And that is, you guys in general, you direct grill the brats, right? You put them over a fire and you grill them till they're sizzling. I indirect grill the brats, meaning that I have my fire on the sides, the brats in the center, and I add wood chips or wood chunks to the coals. So I'm actually smoke roasting the bratwurst. So you get an extra layer of flavor from the smoke. beautiful burnished casings. And the beauty of indirect grilling is that you don't burst the casing, so the brats come out supernaturally moist. I really think it's the best way there is to cook bratwurst.
The big question around here, though, is going to be, do you boil your brats in beer before you grill them?
I do not, but I have been known after I've grilled the brats to put them in a beer and onion hot tub to keep them warm and moist. If you're doing that for tailgating, till halftime or, whenever you want to hold the brats for.
I like the hot tub idea, but you just nailed it, Stephen, that grilling season, especially in Wisconsin, sure, summertime, backyard, patio, camping, but we do it all year round. Tailgating, heck, my boyfriend has grilled in the middle of a snowstorm because he's like, well, you got to heat it up anyway. Just tuck right there on the back porch and get it done.
When I used to live in Boston, I would say what separates the men from the boys, or maybe I should say the women from the girls, is when it snows, what do you shovel first, the path to your car or the path to your grill? For me, it was always the path to my grill.
I was just going to say, I think I know which one Stephen Reichland chooses after you've written 32 books about grilling, and not just about grilling meat. You've got a book about how to grill vegetables, which I think is a whole new world.
Yeah. That was a departure from some of my more carnivorous fans, but we grill a lot of vegetables at home. I do have a confession to make. My wife is a vegetarian, which makes for interesting meals here at the Reichland household.
Was she before when you met her, or did she become one later?
No, she became a vegetarian. My daughter's a vegetarian, too. Vegetables have always played a really big role, but, I try and eat sensibly. I think we all do these days. And, brisket is great, but so are grilled vegetables go with it.
I've been watching Top Chef. So when you have these boundaries and parameters, it seems to kind of up your level and force that creativity. So thanks to your wife and daughter being vegetarian, maybe it had you exploring that vegetable grilling world more than you would have in the past.
That's such an interesting comment. And I do believe that. And I think back to Shakespeare and Shakespeare's sonnets, and the sonnet, of course, is such a rigorous form to write in, right? You have a certain plan of rhyme, a certain plan of meter, a certain structure, and I think kind of in a way, the more you focus your result, the more creative you become. Like Beer Can Chicken. I mean, obviously, this is a fun book. This is not a serious book the way Planet Barbecue or the Barbecue Bible were. And yet I felt that it really, thinking of all the ways that you could apply this technique to different beverages, different birds, it was really a fun project. And, I think I like the way it focuses one's creativity.
Shakespeare and sausages in one conversation. Writer and barbecue grill master Steve Reichland on What's on Tap before his Milwaukee visit at the Bridgewater Modern Grill to host a special dinner next Tuesday, June 25th, featuring beer can chicken recipes, even desserts. I am Sandy Max, and Stephen will share tips to make your grilling great next on WTMJ.
Gorgeous new roofs, showstopper siding, or classic brick and stonework. How about modern windows and regal doors that'll make your chin hit the floor? To a lot of people, having these things can really make them enjoy where they live. It makes them proud. But there's always one thing standing in the way. How do I make that happen? At Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, we have excellent financing options for most people in most situations. 12 months, no interest, no payments, and exceptional rates for long-term loans that will beat your bank with no additional fees or hidden costs. You can go to SemperFiRoofing.com to apply for your pre-approval today. We want to make any project affordable to almost any person, and we've gone out of our way to find partners that can help make it happen for you. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
Ask about our finance options.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, founder of Right Choice Tax and best-selling author on how to have less stress with the IRS. The IRS has you in their crosshairs. We know how to deal with the IRS and solve your situation. Just the other week, we successfully removed the target on a client who had been audited and was told he owed the IRS. We fought the notice and got him a refund instead. We were also successful with another client to get $94,000 of penalties removed. This is why I started Right Choice Tax Resolution, to help people fight the IRS and state. We don't judge you. We just want to help so your bank account doesn't get wiped out, your paycheck or Social Security get cut in half from garnishments, or a lien put on your house or that house you want to buy. Get rid of that stress and get back to enjoying life. Go to rightchoicetax.us right now to book a meeting. We get you may be embarrassed or angry. The situation won't go away if you do nothing. That's rightchoicetax.us.
Here's to sweet summer days together with friends and family in Wisconsin. To discovering magic in every moment.
Hey, Mom, over here.
And to reconnecting through a world filled with wonder.
Wow.
Here's to supper club celebrations and dancing until the sun goes down. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Plan your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
This is What's on Tap with Sandy Max.
Talking with Stephen Reichlin, 5-time James Beard Award winner with his 32 books all about grilling, and he is going to visit us in Milwaukee June 25th, a Tuesday night at the Bridgewater Modern Grill, where you can enjoy hors d'oeuvres, a plated main course dinner, even dessert items, all inspired by Reichlin's recipes from his beer can chicken book. And you will be there as the host with the most.
I will. We'll be signing books and a chance for people to ask me grilling questions. I'm not limiting it to beer can chicken. You know, if somebody has whatever grilling tips or grilling dilemmas you have in the summer, I will try and help you out.
Stephen, I feel like you're sort of the kind of, like when you find out someone's a doctor at a cocktail party, immediately you go, you know, I've got this thing on my elbow. I think as soon as people realize, oh, I could ask Stephen anything, because I'm telling you, as soon as I mentioned your name in the newsroom, I had several people who had questions for you. So my first question for you is, what is the hot and fast method of grilling?
Okay, so hot and fast refers to a very particular way of cooking brisket. Now, you know, brisket is a big, tough, ornery muscle from the chest to the steer. And traditionally, you cook it for a very long time over a very low heat. So that's where you get the expression low and slow. You know, a full-size brisket might take 12, 14 hours to cook. Well, a few years ago, an iconoclastic grill master wondered, could you cook brisket for a shorter amount of time at a higher heat and still have it come out okay? I tested the method. I wrote a book a few years ago called The Brisket Chronicles. I tested the method. I thought it made an acceptable brisket, but not an exceptional brisket. So I'm sticking with low and slow.
Patience will pay off.
Uh-huh.
You wrote the Barbecue Bible. Who am I to challenge you on that?
No, you know, we always learn. Knowledge and barbecue are an evolving art, and we have new tools and new techniques and new ingredients to work with now that we didn't. When I wrote Barbecue Bible, it's the field evolves, techniques evolve. Another one, we just wrote about it on my website, barbecuebible.com. It's the 3-2-1 method for cooking ribs. Are you familiar with that?
No, 3-2-1 method of ribs. 3,
it's you smoke it, unwrap for 3 hours, you wrap it in foil with butter and apple cider for 2 hours, then you unwrap it and smoke it again just to finish it up, crisp the outside, brown the outside. Well, at any rate, we found in our test kitchen that it really should be the 2-2-1 method, 2 hours unwrapped, 2 hours wrapped, and 1 hour unwrapped. But 3-2-1 obviously sounds better. So, you know, and either way you do it, it produces ribs that are very tender, very succulent, very smoky.
I feel like there's a lot of envy in the people who got to test out the 3-2-1 and the 2-2-1 methods.
Yeah, well, it is true that, you know, there's a long line for the leftovers. But by the way, another question that comes up all the time, you know, when you watch my shows, we have a lot of grills and smokers smoking in the backgrounds. And people always wonder, is there really food in those? And the answer is yes, there is, because the brisket that you might see us, or the beer can chicken you might see me do in, you know, an 8-minute segment, well, we have to probably cook 5 briskets. You know, we need to show one raw, one halfway through, one at the wrap, one at the unwrap, etc. And the other question people always ask is, well, who gets to eat the food? And I will tell you that television crews, and I bet radio crews too, are always hungry. that food does not get uneaten. It actually gets devoured on the spot.
Well, I'm excited that Milwaukeeans will get to devour some of your food at the Bridgewater Modern Grill, Tuesday, June 25th. And speaking of hot and fast, Stephen, can I ask you some hot and fast questions? Don't overthink it.
You got it.
These were some of the questions that the fellas in the newsroom came up with. First of all, Greg Pancake Hill, he's our morning show producer. As soon as I told him I was talking with Stephen Reichlin, he said, okay, ask him, is gas blasphemous? Because my hot take is that it is.
The answer is no. And I will confess, I have a gas grill. On a busy weeknight, I'm as apt to fire it up as anybody else. But there is a pecking order. And in my opinion, the best results come from cooking over a wood fire. The second best results come from cooking over a charcoal fire. But there's room for gas grills in Reichlandia as well.
All right, second question. Do the wood pellets really matter when you're grilling food?
Wood pellets or wood chips? I would say that with the exception of mesquite, which has a very strong, pronounced, slightly bitter flavor, the differences between apple and cherry and oak and hickory, for example, are very subtle. One point I did a blind tasting, and I cooked 8 pieces of salmon over 8 different woods, and I did a blind tasting to see what people could tell the difference. And with the exception of mesquite, people really couldn't identify which was which.
Oh, it's that subtle. And does an expensive grill make a better cook?
Yes and no. I mean, what makes a good cook is really knowing how to control the fire and not have it control you. I mean, one of my standard go-to grills is a kettle grill, Weber kettle grill. Inexpensive, super simple to use. But I also have Kalamazoo stainless steel super grills. Those produce great results too. I think you should focus less on the grill and more on the techniques and skills that you need. But I will add one piece of advice, and that is if you're in the market for a new grill, buy a better grill than you think you need because you will grow into it. And as you get better and better at this, you really want a grill that stretches your abilities and your imagination.
That's a great tip. And last but not least, on the hot and fast question, Stephen, what's the best meat to grill for a party?
Well, I think a big hunk of meat is the best meat to grill for a party because if you have a big hunk of meat and you slice it and serve everybody, it brings everybody together, and it also is a lot less nerve-wracking. We talked about brisket. Brisket is a great party dish. You get an 18-pound packer brisket, that'll serve 20 people. Otherwise, in the realm of steaks, I like tomahawks. They're always very impressive, and you can carve those. I mean, it's easier, to grill a couple of tomahawks than it is to, let's say, grill 8 or 10 skirt steaks, that kind of require a little bit more attention. Plus, there's the idea of sharing a meal. What I love about barbecue is it's so communal. It brings us together.
It's very social. You got to wait for the meat to heat. Heck, people have family reunions around barbecues,
Yeah, it's, one really fires up a grill or a smoker to cook for one person. You fire up a grill, it's a party.
Stephen, we're glad you're bringing the party to Milwaukee. The Bridgewater Modern Grill, Tuesday, June 25th. See Stephen Reichlin, ask him some grilling questions, and enjoy delicious beer can chicken recipes, hors d'oeuvres, a plated main course, even dessert items, all inspired by Steve Reichlin's recipes in the Beer Can Chicken Updated book. Steve, thank you so much for hanging out with me on What's on Tap, and we look forward to seeing you in Milwaukee.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
And next, meet a woman who is a wealth of knowledge about Sir Paul McCartney, the birthday boy, his influence on pop culture and his connections to Wisconsin. So celebrate Paul McCartney's birthday with me and culture historian Dr. Diana Belskamper after we check in. The WTMJ Breaking News Center, here's Jessica Gatso.
Thanks, Sandy. The Two Rivers Police Department clears up rumors regarding missing 3-year-old Elijah Vu. Police Chief Ben Meinert says speculation that Vu has been found is not true. Search efforts continue in both the Two Rivers area as well as near the Wisconsin Dells and Portage. Vu has been missing since February 20th. His mother, Katrina Bauer, and her boyfriend, Jesse Vang, face felony child neglect charges, but have still not been charged with Vu's disappearance. Wauwatosa residents will see 2 referenda questions on their November ballots. The Wauwatosa Board of Education unanimously approved of the placement at a special board meeting Monday. One question will ask voters for just over $64 million over 4 years to fund district operations, including salaries and benefits for staff and instructional and co-curricular programming for students. The second question asks for $60 million over 20 years to allow the district to address all deferred maintenance at its elementary schools. The funds would also bring the elementary and high schools up to code to meet Americans with Disabilities Act facility standards. Taking a look at the roads with your Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Looks like we've got a few lanes blocked right now. Looks like the right lane on 4394 North at the ramp from 6th and Mineral Street. That is blocked due to a disabled vehicle. We've also got just a minor incident actually on 94 West at Sunny Slope Road. That's just the right shoulder. And taking a look at your WTMJ forecast, tonight we'll have partly cloudy skies, breezy and humid, a low of 73. On Wednesday, mostly cloudy, warm and still humid, scattered showers and storms, a high of 84 by the lake and 88 inland. On Thursday, partly cloudy with a slight chance for thunderstorms, a high of 74 by the lake and 80 degrees inland. Friday, partly cloudy, very warm and humid, a high of 87. Right now in Milwaukee, it's 91 degrees. I'm Jessica Gatso, Sighting Unlimited. WTMJ News Time is 6:32.
Another MVP has joined the roster at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, Dr. Michael Nolte. Expertscape recently named him part of the top 1% of spine expertise in the world. Dr. Nolte has published over 50 peer-reviewed articles in leading scientific journals and authored more than 100 national presentations. They added this MVP specialist for orthopedic, neurosurgical, and spine care because at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference.
With an ever-changing inventory, you never know what great bargains you're going to be able to find at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. It makes shopping fun because the best finds are the ones you had no idea you'd even come across. And when they're at thrift store prices, it feels good. And it feels even better to know you're helping us help others. Shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Hey, Wisconsin, Greg Matzik for Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac, where the summer road trip sale is on. Perfect timing to gear up for the adventures ahead. Get more for your trade and say yes to enticing offers on favorites from Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC, or perhaps a GM-certified pre-owned model. Connect with Holiday to explore what's new, treat yourself to a test drive, and experience their genuine guest care and transparent, simplified buying approach. It's the stuff that delights drivers from all over the Badger State who have put their trust in Holiday and what's made them Wisconsin's #1 Buick and GMC dealer per 2023 Buick and GMC zoned sales records. As a repeat customer and a longtime fan myself, I can say with confidence you'll be in great hands with Team Holiday on your side. Find yours and discover the difference during the summer road trip sale at Holiday, Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC, Highway 41 and 23 in Fond du Lac, and online at holidaygm.com. Since 1959, it's worth the trip.
Some of our customers want a glass shower door for the look. Some want it for a better use of their space, while others need a new glass shower door just to be safe. Like a customer we had last month. Her daughter had been hounding her to turn that old bathtub of hers into a walk-in shower. She was afraid her mother might slip when there was no one around to help her. Stepping over that bathtub wall isn't exactly safe. And besides, those old bathtub floors can be kind of slippery too. Installing a new glass shower
WTMJ studio, one of my favorite Beatles fans and experts. Please welcome culture historian Dr. Diana Belskamper. How are you? I am doing very well, thank you. happy Paul's birthday to you.
Happy Paul's birthday. Sir Paul's birthday.
That's true. Have you celebrated in any particular way?
Not today. I haven't. It was a regular work day for me, but there's always so many opportunities as far as just accessing music. I mean, when you think about 60 years of music that we have available and a new album that was just, released last week, one of the infamous bootlegs that maybe I've heard before, but now has an official release. So there is just such a wealth of material available there.
And when you talk about 60 years, when the Queen of England passed away after being on the throne for 70 years, even people who would not consider themselves monarchists were still accustomed to her for generations. Like she was almost like their grandmother. Like she was just a part of their lives in this kind of comforting way.
Yes.
And debatably, Paul McCartney, the Beatles, and their music and their continued creative influence is part of our fabric. It's part of that warm, fuzzy blanket that usually brings back good memories. I mean, you hear that song and everybody's kind of hand drumming on the dashboard,
And beyond that, we've seen them age. At least two of them are still, aging along with us. I mean, they might not do it as naturally as some others, but we've seen them go through challenges. We've seen them go through loss. We've seen them grieve. We've seen them, face a lot of the issues of growing older that, baby boomers predate me a little bit, but that many of their fans are also going to face. And just like they were as young men, they can look to them and see, sort of, oh, well, that's what I can face. And that goes back to my research of teen magazines and how we sort of look at celebrities to model behavior or to, just sort of as guideposts of people we want to emulate. Not advising that people do that, of course, but simply saying that for young people, they latch on. And, here we are 60 years later, and these gentlemen are still, along with Ringo, still out there.
Yes.
And if I can be 80 years old, 80 plus, and moving like they do, I will be in great shape.
Moving like they do, these gentlemen in concert. I saw Ringo probably 2019 at the BMO Harris Pavilion, maybe 2018. So he would have been just about 80 then. He does yoga. He walks across that stage. You would never look at him in his slim legging pants and go, oh, poor thing. Right. Oh, poor Uncle Ringo. Like he moves great. And he's got that stage presence and still bangs on the drums. And then you see Sir Paul McCartney, who just added, he's touring, I believe, South America this summer, and he just added Europe to the holidays.
Yeah.
So he's not stopping. And
these are 3-hour shows.
I was just going to say, without a sip of water.
Yeah.
You're a maniac.
Yes. The pyrotechnics and all of the technology that he's incorporating into the shows as well. This isn't just, sitting back and doing the greatest hits. This is really being at the forefront of, the touring experience, the arena experience.
And you mentioned flipping through teen magazines and that this is part of your job. Can you explain just again what a culture historian is and just really the depth of knowledge that you have and the kind of papers that you write still?
A cultural historian is really somewhat, my training is in history, but it's an interdisciplinary type of history where you are assessing the broader culture around us. Popular culture, as I like to say, is not an explanation, it's an expression. So you're looking at cultural artifacts, but also just sort of the social dynamic and how the culture, the artifacts of culture represent what is happening in our broader society. So in my research, I look at popular music, I look at teen magazines and television predominantly of the post-World War II era. And my methodology is approaching it from an angle of gender and generation. So looking how, you have the sort of Depression era, the greatest generation, followed by the baby boomers, followed by Gen Xers, and how those different generations interpret the world going on around them based on how they learn, the technology they have. and how they connect as communities as well. Whether that is through fandom, whether that is through common experience of experiencing the simultaneous event such as the Kennedy assassination and how those defining moments for many of us, 9/11 or the Challenger explosion, how those impact how we view the world around us, and it's all through the medium of television.
And we were talking about 1964 when you came by because this is a big anniversary year for so many of those Beatles milestones, and you came to visit when it was the milestone of the Beatles appearing on Ed Sullivan back in the wintertime, and you put it in great perspective for me to put that together because you've got this broader view that we had just come out of November of 1963 and that really grim national tragedy of the assassination of President Kennedy that no one saw coming. Not that just it was such an unexpected event that unified the country, but cast this pall over it. And then 5 months later, here come these 3 months these energetic, all brand new British fellas bringing a new sound and an energy that the country and the world was looking for.
Yeah, it was okay to have fun again.
And like you said, like grieving, like you kind of remember the first time you laugh after you lose a loved one. It's like, oh,
yeah. If Ed Sullivan
I'm
said
whistling
it
in the
was
shower.
okay,
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay to move on, and that was the power he had in popular culture of that era.
So I love talking music, and it's a fun reason to celebrate one person, Sir Paul McCartney's impact and the joy and the influence that he still has. But I also enjoy the opportunity to explore history through culture like this. So if you've got a fun Paul McCartney concert memory, because he has played in Wisconsin more than once, you're welcome to join on the WTMJ talk and text line 855-616-1620. That's 855-616-1620. Dr. Diana Belskamper and I will share with you some Wisconsin connections, including his relationship with Les Paul's godson. Stay with us on What's on Tap.
Grandpa was long retired from working in the Rapids paper mill when I finished law school.
Dan Krause, Army veteran and owner of Krause Estate Planning and Elder Law Center.
Grandpa and Grandma asked me to help them get their wills set up. They worried about losing the homestead if they needed nursing care. This was my first experience with estate planning. I just loved it. During the years that I spent in the Army Reserves as a JAG attorney, I was building a small estate planning law firm. After retiring from 21 years in the Army, I've been growing the firm with 3 offices now to help more seniors like my grandparents. At Krause Estate Planning, our entire team loves helping seniors. It's a requirement in our recruiting process. We do help people of all ages, but we hope all of our clients will become seniors one day.
Krause Estate Planning and Elder Law Center in Brookfield, Madison, and Oregon. A veteran-owned law firm.
Krause Estate Planning and Elder Law Center.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert, owner of Wisconsin's own AccuNet Mortgage. I get that most home shoppers just go with their bank when it comes to getting pre-approved, but that's probably a mistake because banks have a lot of overhead, like branches, fancy headquarters, and layers of management. That means their closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 higher than AccuNet's for exactly the same rate. And that's not all. Bank pre-approval letters are usually weak and unconvincing, especially compared to AccuNet's rock-solid, fully verified pre-approval that provides a $2,000 guarantee to you and the seller. Our senior loan consultants will also look at every possible way to strengthen your offer and pre-approval in the eyes of that seller, especially if you're offering over the asking price. We even call the listing agent to reinforce what a great buyer you are. Banks don't do all that.
Paul McCartney in culture, when you take a 40,000-foot view and look at over generations. But there's some fun facts about Paul McCartney being here in Wisconsin. And I got to tell you, Milwaukee is one happening city with a very special history with the Beatles one of, 24 cities in 1964
Yes.
that got the Beatles on tour.
It's an amazing story. That there was an opportunity presented to a local music shop owner. He said, let's get on board. And even, Bob Berry, our icon voice of Milwaukee, especially in that era, he initially wasn't interested in the Beatles. He said, that's okay. And it was another employee at the station at the time said, you need to listen to this. You need to get on board with this. He plays the song and kids go crazy. But it was, it was all happening so fast. And it was really the promoters who were able to get in and say, hey, I can give you whatever date you'd like, negotiate a fee, and bam, those dates were set. So the fact that the Beatles were actually in Milwaukee on September 4th, that they gave a press conference, that they performed their roughly 30-minute set.
It was drowned out by screaming, of course.
Yes, just astonishing when you hear audio from that. You really couldn't even hear the band performing, but it was the experience. It was that communal experience of being in that room, in that arena with those men, and what compares that? The Ice Bowl? As far as Wisconsin legacy of events that you were at, maybe there are very few others, I think.
But that's I like that. That's a great comparison. But yeah, so to have the Beatles in Milwaukee in 1964 is just such a wonderful, significant part of pop culture history. Since then, Paul McCartney's been back. I think my boyfriend has said that one of his all-time favorite concerts was his Milwaukee County Stadium show in 93. I got to see Paul McCartney at the Bradley Center and then at one of the hottest, sweatiest Miller Park shows, July of 2013. But it was well worth it. But I'm just thinking, if I'm standing here by the soundboard sweating, he's up there performing for 3 hours and honestly not having a sip of water after all those Hamburg Rathskeller days where they didn't... You just grinded it out.
You just played 3 sets and you played all night and slept all day, and it just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that endurance, that stamina.
You had to have seen Paul McCartney in concert.
Yes, in 2019 I did. When he did his tour of smaller arenas, in the Quad Cities in Moline, Illinois, I saw him.
Cool.
And it was a very impressive show. The pyrotechnics, the moving around, and it was in June. And so there were fans there, wishing a happy birthday and had signs. And he was very gracious and acknowledged them. And even, I think, signed someone's sign who was up towards the front. And, people throwing roses and all these sorts of things that this far on, people are still that affectionate towards him, or maybe they're affectionate for nostalgia. Maybe they're affectionate for their youth, but it is still, when you see 4 generations of fans at a concert, that's nothing to blink at,
and those fans are bonding because they're having those overwhelming feelings.
Yes, and they're bonding within their families over the music, over the experience too, which is just really fantastic.
Arts bring people together. I love it.
Yeah.
We're going to play a song that Sir Paul played when he played the very rare occasion. It was a huge get for Summerfest 2016. So one of the songs that was on that set list will be the song you need to hear, and a couple more Wisconsin connections next on What's on Tap.
Tony Drake here from Drake & Associates. Big news! Our Retirement Ready radio show is moving to a new time slot. Catch us at noon every Saturday. At Drake & Associates, we craft tailor-made plans that not only meet your financial needs, but align seamlessly with your unique lifestyle. Tune in at noon on Saturdays and get retirement ready.
Drake & Associates, LLC is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This commercial is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Drake & Associates, LLC does not provide legal or tax advice.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here. We've made it to that wonderful time in Wisconsin when everyone likes to be outside. The gardening, the golfing, the swimming, but not you, because your knee hurts or your hips are bothering you and you don't want to do anything that could mean needing surgery. Hey, I get it. But here's the thing. You don't need surgery to feel better. That's where QC Kinetics comes in. Non-surgical joint pain relief is a thing. It's here. It's happening at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, lasting joint relief with no surgery, no drugs, and get this, no downtime. Stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Get outside this summer. Call QC Kinetics. Here's the number, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today and live your best life again.
This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, and I want to talk about exactly what we do. When you come here, you're going to get 2 shots with 2 very small needles. One will be a medication called Toradol, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, completely different from a standard steroid or cortisone injection. This medication is safe and a great pain reliever. The other will be hyaluronic acid, which is a naturally occurring fluid found in all of our joints. What hyaluronic acid does is it helps recoat the inside surfaces to provide cushioning and lubrication. It helps slow down the osteoarthritis process to a point where patients may not need surgery. All of this combined with using our state-of-the-art Ultra G machine developed by NASA has produced profound results. What we do works. And the best part about this is that insurance covers most of our patients' treatments. Go to Rejuvenex.com to request your free pain evaluation.
Do you need to rent a bus for a corporate outing, baseball game, or a wedding? Milwaukee Bus Rentals has a bus for you. You may have seen our lime green buses driving through town. Now we have a fleet of black buses too. The rides are perfect for bachelorette parties, wedding shuttles, trips to the ballpark, and corporate outings. Milwaukee Bus Rentals can even plan a tour of Milwaukee to add
together. So Paul McCartney played drums on My Dark Hour as Paul Ramon. Flying under the radar on that one. And then they worked on Flaming Pie together in the 90s. Yeah. And then you have a fun On Wisconsin connection.
Yes. And there are all kinds of rumors out there about ownership of On Wisconsin. I'm not going to get into all of those sorts of things. Long story short is that Paul McCartney had purchased a catalog of basically college fight songs that were available. And
as one does.
Yes, because he invested in publishing. And so minor royalties, but it was just another piece to add to his vast catalog. And Governor Lee Dreyfus was not too happy about that. So back in 1980-81, there is a little bit of a back and forth between the two. And the governor had asked that McCartney gift the rights of On Wisconsin back to the state because it is the official state song. And McCartney's attorney, who also happened to be his father-in-law, said, no, we're not going to break this up. And in fact, his response to the New York Times when they were reporting on this was, I should have told Governor Dreyfus that instead of worrying about songs, he should work on getting them a good football team.
Oh!
Well, there was some investment, and hey, it turned out all right. Not much longer, right? Another 10 years or so.
That's fun. Yeah. Paul McCartney and On Wisconsin. Well, we will leave you with the song you need to hear, and it is the song that Paul McCartney opened his Summerfest set with.